driven, and you have a tangible product like a mobile phone, and a one-time with intangible, maybe hiring a taxi, and how do you decide about a taxi, and therefore the benefit is the intangible benefit. The reason I put this out is that it will kind of help maybe map your products or services to different pieces, and therefore each of these then has a very different action item around nurturing customers for life. So then the question really is, why should you nurture? Who should nurture, when, and who by whom? So why, one question is, if you're in an early stage of the business, clearly you need to learn from customers. And how do you learn from customers if you don't engage with them, if they're not willing to give you time on a day, they're not giving you feedback? The second more important thing also is you need to earn from customers. That's the only way businesses work. Therefore, it just makes business sense to nurture them. But the real other question becomes, especially in the early stage, is do you nurture only the profitable customers, or do you nurture also loyal customers? Loyal customers sometimes tend to give you a lot more information, a lot more feedback about a product, but they might not either be able to pay you the right money for your value for your product, or might not be willing to pay you because they think they're doing you a favor by giving you an early chance. So the loyal customers piece also throws up a bunch of other questions around how much can you afford to invest in a loyal customer who's, let's say, loss making. How do you quantify the value of the feedback or the references or the word of mouth that you're getting because of the customer? But clearly that is a question mark that depends on your business context. When? All the time. By whom? Everybody. Which essentially means that whether you have a security guard, if you have a B2C context, or you have a somebody who's picking up the call at the reception, each customer interaction is presenting a situation where people can decide never to work with you or work with you for life, at least in the short term. But again, remember, customers don't care. So they only are worried about, in that point, is the moment of truth positive? The moment of truth becomes, I like these people, I want to work with them. Or the moment of truth becomes, never again, let me just get out of here. So other context for this whole nurturing customers for life is in terms of whether you are providing a product or a service, and whether you have a B2C service or a product or a B2B product or service. Each of these then has a very different set of action items, and I've just listed a few. Each of them can, you can dig deeper into each of those and have a whole bunch of other things. So if you look at, let's say, B2B and product, and example being, let's say, an IT hardware or software or office furniture, typically the reason why you would have a customer for life is because you have some product upgrades. You have some way of locking in the customer where they buy, let's say, base level stuff, and you have some ways by which you can keep adding value to the whole product that you sold. So customization does become a key issue because business enterprise customers typically do want some level of customization. And in this context, if your design of your business or of your product does not enable an ongoing feature upgrade, an ongoing relationship, then you do run the risk of every time finding new customers, and then this nurturing customers for life kind of fails as a theory. But the other piece is that some of these B2B meetings, B2B products contexts only work on face-to-face meetings, and while technology is fantastic, telecom, email, all that is fantastic, my view is that some of these B2B contexts only works face-to-face, and as an early early venture team co-founder or the core team, if you show up, you will get a lot more intelligence about the market, a lot more intelligence about what a product is actually being used in. Very often what we design our products for and what the customer is using it for are two very different things. And some of those things customers speak only when they, one, realize that you're serious enough, and two, feel that they're comfortable enough to share the real issues. Similarly, B2B service, what we do at Edusports is one example. We work with schools or with software services. Since the actual value being delivered is intangible, and I refer back to the earlier slide, the expectation setting is a very key issue. Because services being services, in the Indian context, services also don't get seen very often as very high value. We tend to undervalue services as against product. The expectation setting upfront is a key issue. That said, you can say all you want, finally customers do demand more than what was, let's say, in the contract. And at that point, how do you handle those changing expectations as you evolve? and how do you still retain your business profitability and the customer's sense of getting value for the money they have paid you is a key issue. And again, here again, I think the whole face-to-face meetings, actual customer face time, actual engagement on issues, documenting some of the key events that have happened, and therefore being able to present the value of what you offered at different quarterly or half-yearly basis does give you the context for them to stay engaged with you for the future. So in both the B2B context, product or service, my sense is customers are essentially looking at, are you reliable? Can I take a decision? Because in this case, I'm taking it very often. I am the manager who is deciding to buy, and other users in the business are going to get affected by my decision. So to some extent, your buyer is not your user. Therefore, you need to map the buyer for a different set of needs, and then stay engaged with the users so that the user feedback to the buyer goes back and you have an ongoing relationship. In the absence of that, you run the risk of having a one-time deep engagement, over-investing in year one, and then year two, because users have not really used your product or service the way you thought it should be used, the buyer not getting the right feedback, and then that kind of becoming a negative cycle. Excuse me, just one minute. If you look at the whole B2C side, which is product or service, let's look at products, the consumer electronics, phones, televisions, books. The functionality is clearly the product feature, that it have this kind of option, do you have range and so on. But the pre and post sales support very often become a key reason why customers come back to you or customers refer you to other people. So that's actually an interesting context. When you say nurturing, you need to also define what you mean by nurturing and customers. It's not just revenue, it's also about the whole value capture that you can do from a customer, and all the value capture need not be revenue. All the value capture from a customer need not be profits. It could be references, it could be word of mouth, it could be somebody willing excuse me, somebody willing to be your beta customer. It could be a whole bunch of things. So in the product side, really the key issue is around, when I engage with the business, did they understand my needs? Have they gone through enough to kind of predict my needs? Where before I buy, they kind of ask me intelligent questions to help me configure the product rightly for my needs. And after I bought it, did they help me use it for what I bought it for? And if that didn't happen, you do have an issue in terms of an ongoing relationship. Therefore, the predicting needs and driving usage of your product in a B2C context gives you a lot more opportunity to capture value, whether it's upgrades, whether it is reference, whether it is opportunities where other customers can see your product in use. Service side. The issue here, the base level is that person has some expertise that you don't have yourself or don't want to do yourself. And therefore, the whole responsiveness to your need should and the anticipation of your need, whether if you're planning a travel tour and therefore what you should be planning before and what will happen when you're on the trip, and therefore providing you a product or a service. It could be an upgrade. More and more we're finding in India that people are willing to pay for value, and they're getting into this context of, I don't mind if you charge me more, but make sure you deliver good value. Don't give me a low price, low value product. So in the B2C service, a lot more about anticipation, a lot more about responsiveness to an issue, as against actual product functionality. At a service level, there is no functionality. It's essentially some expertise you have. So this whole context of what kind of ecosystem have you as a service built up so that I as a customer feel responsive, feel that you are providing a product, providing a service that I can kind of engage with. So I did two things. One was this whole benefit being intangible, tangible, kind of a context frame. Another was this service B2C. Since the whole number of products or services all of you folks do probably would fall in one of these categories. Each of these then has a slightly different way of nurturing your customer for life. Here I also want to introduce this whole concept of what I call, from a maths perspective, necessary condition and sufficient condition. So the whole reason customers buy, reason you and I have bought ever, are because you fundamentally trust that product or service. Whether it's leap of faith, whether it is friends, whether it is a good ad, a persuasive ad, or a great offer, you have taken some decision in terms. This makes sense to me. You delivered what you said you will work the way you thought it. You said it would work. You were responsive because you met me and kind of made sure that I understand what the right service deliverables are. The trust is a necessary condition to have a customer. And as one of my profs at B school used to talk about customers, being referred to as जो कष्ट से मर जाए वो उनको customer बोलते हैं. So the whole thing about why are customers buying and why do they trust you as a product or service provider is the key issue. That's a necessary condition. That does not mean that you will nurture them for life. It just means that the guy or the customer will buy you once. The relationship that you build with the customer is where the sufficiency comes in, where if you don't have a trust, there's no question of nurturing for life. It's gone. So that's like a necessary condition. Your product should be good. You should have the service expertise. You should be providing the right expectation. You should be delivering more, and so on. The relationship then creates a sufficiency condition where you say, in case I mess up, I'm giving another chance. In case I did not deliver what I thought I would deliver, in case the product did not do what it said it would do, will the customer give you one more chance? And hopefully you won't blow that chance. So that the relationship provides, the relationship, if you will, is a sufficient condition. And without both, you pretty much have an issue in terms of going down this path of nurturing customers for life. Some of the examples that I've taken are essentially trying to carve out different contexts that some of you might have in terms of B2C, B2B, product service, and features, tangible, intangible benefits. So what I want to leave you with, and I probably rather have a lot more questions to kind of address specific issues, are these two keywords. And to me, this is really where it starts and ends. Whether you're building trust and relationships with your customers because you have a great product that really wows everybody, because you have a working product but they feel that you're working very hard to improve it and you're very keen on making it work and you're sincere. Whether you have amazing credibility as a, let's say, co-founder or executive, and that drives the trust. So the parameters for trust can be different for different contexts. It could be your credentials, it could be your background, it could be your product. So if you look at trust, there's a very broadly in an early stage context, the way I understand it is that when you don't have any product or service ready, the trust only gets built up because you have a team. So who are the people? Are they sincere? Do they have the credentials? Can I believe in them? Is the first parameter customer uses. The second, assuming that the team is credible, the team has now put out a product or a service, then the question becomes, is this product or service trustworthy? The team becomes less important. So if you have a working, let's say, mobile phone, it doesn't matter who designed the mobile phone, as long as it works and it does what it said it would do. When you move from team to product or service to customers, and I'm calling them, rather before customer, users. They might not be paying, they might be paying. If you have users, to some extent your team is less relevant, to large extent your product is relevant. And then you have customers, where you have customers with whom you have billing relationships, or you have one-time or ongoing billing relationships. When you have users, so if you take a mobile phone context, if you are an Airtel or a Vodafone user, whether you are using a product which is, let's say, base product or a mobile phone, they can do a lot more with you in terms of driving usage if they have the basic trust and the relationship with you. And they build the relationship or break the relationship based on the kind of support they provide, the kind of additional upgrade they provide. So if you look at team to service to users to customers as one axis as you build your business, and then put that in the context of building trust and relationships, each of those kind of throws up different action items at different points of time. So that's all I had. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that interesting session. Thank you all to our attendees for participating in the webinar. We are glad that the questions kept coming in, but due to lack of time we are unable to answer all. Please do send in your feedback and suggestions to us at eclub@nenglobal.org. Also, if you found the session interesting, feel free to blog or post about it. The recorded version of the webinar will be available on our website eclub.nenonline.org by tomorrow. Our next webinar will be held on May 30th from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. by Abhishek Rungta of IndusNet Technologies on the importance of starting up now. We look forward to your participation. Also, Eclub Bangalore is conducting an event on Facebook Games from a mere idea to a million users by Deepan Chakravarti, founder of HashQ, at Mount Carmel College of Bangalore on May 26th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The registration link is provided on our website as well as Facebook page. Look forward to your participation. Thank you once again and have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.